Sometimes international relations are driven as much by misunderstandings and flawed assumptions as they are by genuinely conflicting interests. Nowhere is this truer than in today's disputes over trade imbalances. The balance of trade is the difference between a country's imports and exports. Together with a country's net income from abroad and net current transfers, it comprises the current account balance. A country that lends more than it borrows or exports more than it imports has a surplus. One that borrows more than it lends or imports more than it exports has a deficit. As the political backlash against globalization has intensified in recent years, countries running large trade deficits have increasingly accused their counterparts with large surpluses of taking advantage of their trading partners, and even threatened to punish them by erecting import barriers. U.S. President Donald Trump in particular has long insisted that America's large and persistent trade deficits are the result of Chinese, German, or Mexican perfidy.
Remember, it was Bill Clinton who signed NAFTA, one of the worst economic deals ever made by our country or, frankly, any other country. Never, ever again.
But while economists do use the current account balance to help them understand the relative strength of a country's economy, the implications of surpluses and deficits are not always what they seem. For one thing, trade balances tend to be countercyclical. In boom periods, deficits often grow because economies have the income needed to buy more imports. The resulting price competition with domestic products limits inflation. In recessions, deficits often shrink as consumer spending declines. This trend may be compounded by interest rate cuts, which drive down the exchange rate, making exports cheaper relative to imports. The resulting increase in exports drives economic recovery because it creates jobs, which boosts household incomes and increases aggregate demand. But highly complex and contingent dynamics should not be oversimplified. For example, price levels are no guarantee of the direction a current account balance will take. Switzerland retains a large surplus even though its currency is notoriously overvalued. The U.S. has maintained a deficit since 1984, even as the dollar has fluctuated widely. What is straightforward about trade is that it is not a zero-sum endeavor as Trump claims.
I believe in free trade, but we got to get something out of it. We can't have free trade where we lose $500 billion a year, where we lose $100 billion with another country and $50 billion with another one.
The reality is that, given today's intricate global supply chains, one country's surplus does not directly correlate with another country's deficit. For example, the U.S. ran a $63 billion trade deficit with Mexico last year, but about 40% of the value of Mexican imports was produced in the U.S. None of this is to say that a current account deficit is risk-free. But the degree of risk reflects a wide range of factors, including the size of the economy, the productivity of its investments, and the perceptions of financial markets. Above all, it depends on how confident markets are that a country will be able to cover its current liabilities with future revenues. As for trade, it's ultimately a win-win endeavor, enabling countries to make the most of comparative advantage. And as history has shown, when countries resort to protectionism, everyone becomes vulnerable.